Though I can recall excitedly unboxing my launch PS4 like it was yesterday, somehow it's now 7 years later and its new console o'clock again. I'm amazed by how the station of play has grown across every single evolutionary metric. We're now decades beyond that grey onesie, past that weird Spider-Man font fixation, and finally exiting our rebellious all-black goth phase, which admittedly I kinda liked. Sony's latest launch console vision now looks like a monochromatic mix of a monolith. Beneath its Elvis-like white jumpsuit popped collar aesthetic lurks quite the pelvic thrust of a power upgrade. Now, this isn't going to be a hard-edged review of this hardware per se, more of a collection of thoughts from somebody who's not only been with the brand since putting T-Rexes on demo discs was cool, but also a gamer who's played, loved and still owns every major console equally. I'm a true platform agnostic who has seen the futility of too many console wars. I've also been the proud owner of this for about a week. But again, do not expect a this dog is better than that dog comparison here, because my hands are full reviewing the many individual things that I think matter more at a launch: the games. Because in my mind, the true worth of any system I've ever owned has been firmly rooted in its library of interactive experiences. These are what determine which console quote-unquote wins a generation, and frankly we just don't have enough of those here today, on either side of the fence, to make any sort of definitive call. With all that being laid out, let's take a look at Sony's latest son. But before I continue, just a quick bit of housekeeping. You should know that I'm doing this vid in labelled sections that can be quick skipped via the YouTube playbar. I also take the time every now and then to just shut up and include raw chunks of gameplay, just so the games can speak for themselves. You can quick jump to those as well. I also need to put in the disclaimer that I've actually received this thing for free from PlayStation Australia. Now, that being said, there's no arrangement here, there's no cash for comment, they've given me this thing and they've just rolled the dice. I'm gonna say what I think. Damn the consequences. Anyway, with all that out in the open, let me just shut my big yap and we'll just roll into some gameplay.
Hey friends, thank you so much for telling people about this podcast. We've jumped the charts from 136 to 87. Wow. Okay. Today I'm doing a quick cast before I head downtown for my citizenship test, and I'm answering fan DMs. First one, where are you from, Danica? Well, I was born in Fuzhou, China, but we came to New York when I was 6. Next question, what kind of mic do you use? Purple one? I'm just kidding. The link's on my blog. Okay, quick.
Howdy, Miles. This challenge tests your point launch skills. Hit all the checkpoints before time runs out. Approach the prompt to begin. You got this. Everything I've learned about getting around this city, it's all about personal style. My way, Black Cat moves her way, and Electro moves his way. Find your style. Let it guide you. Before you know it, you'll be coming up with your own moves. Like me. Like you.
He's a good teacher, man. Real good.
Keep going. You're almost there. That was an ultimate run, Miles. Gonna need to add some more challenge to these next time.
When it comes to looks, honestly, the PlayStation 5 is about as memeable as it is strikingly designed. Tastes are going to vary on this thing. I love the look of it. One thing that does have to be said on this side of the fence, however, we're all going to need a bigger crappy IKEA cube unit, because the PlayStation 5 is a big bertha. She's chunkier than a handstanding Xbox One launch unit. She comfortably envelops that first run PS3, though she's not quite as hernia-inducing to lift. In makeshift weapon terms, you could probably kill anything but armadillos with this thing. Granted, there is a trimmer option available in the form of a discless unit. However, the cheaper price of that thing is offset by your need to forfeit the bargain bin dive option. You know, to get drastically discounted physical media. And look, not to attach an onion to my belt and be the old man yelling at the cloud, but I'm still not ready for that. I don't think I ever will be. The DualShock 4 controller has witnessed a pretty radical redesign as well. It's now called the DualSense, and obviously it's taken on the two-tone motif and kinda looks like it's wearing a little white tux dinner jacket. Those classy looks translate into a classy feel as well. I was immediately impressed by how premium the build quality is on this thing, and how many amazing features just come as standard. I can totally imagine a bunch of third-party pad producers sitting down, wringing their hands, looking at this thing and going, well, how the hell are we going to iterate and overcharge on this thing? I don't have an answer for you guys. Maybe an extra set of triggers. That, and I don't know, maybe a fetching racing stripe, are the only two avenues I can see for you, Razer. Because the DualSense comes stock with a bunch of exciting new bells and whistles. For example, devs can make the new L2, R2 triggers sort of solidify with force feedback. Sometimes they'll do that to create an entirely new dead zone in the trigger, or to simulate explosive bursts, or incrementally increase tension. And that touch candy continues with the frankly amazing haptics expressions that have something of a symbiosis with the improved inbuilt pad speaker. The incredibly nuanced feedback provided by the haptics is really something you have to experience firsthand for yourself. But trust me, your mind probably will get blown the first time you feel your character transition from one floor surface to another. If this tech is leveraged cleverly by the right devs, I think that DualSense haptics have the potential to deliver a, figurative and literal, seismic shockwave across the landscape of this console war. This thing is game-changing. Last but not least, it should be mentioned that the underside of the DualSense feels grippier than the DualShock 4, and, bit of trivia, Sony's obsessive attention to detail can be seen there if you zoom in with a magnifying glass. The tiny textured bumps are all little PlayStation face buttons. Adorable. I also appreciate the handy mic mute button that now rides in the center and is colored to let you know at a glance whether or not you're shouting localized abuse at your loved ones in your living room or out onto the web to online strangers who don't really matter. But I don't think the DualSense is perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There are some minor gripes that I have. For example, the new PS button that sits in the middle is slightly less accessible and harder to press now, having transitioned from a circular button to this sort of raised logo thing. And while my Luddite brain does understand and accept the need to modernize from a micro USB port to a USB-C one, I still hate having to go out and buy a new 5-meter charge cable. The piddly little one that comes with the system is comically short, especially for a system that expects, nay, demands, that you hook into an 8K TV the size of Texas. So you're going to want to put that cable on your shopping list day one. I think for the most part, the PlayStation 5's UI is going to be familiar to most of you if you're coming across from a PlayStation 4 Pro. You have your horizontal digital shelf of game boxes and a My Collections box, which is your library, that sits at the far right end and will take you into a familiar big box farm that holds everything you own. Interestingly, you can actually sort these to PS5, PS4, and PS3 titles? Feels like somebody left in a spoiler there for the future of backwards compat. And for the record, none of the hundreds of PlayStation 3 games on my account would populate there, yet. Looking back at the main screen of the dashboard, I like that tapping R1 will take you to a dedicated media page. Sadly, I'm forbidden for talking about that today, also the entertainment apps on offer, the PlayStation Store, and the PS Plus menu. Things that aren't state secrets. I can tell you that I like where the upper options horizontal menu we had on PS4 has been relocated. It now manifests after a single tap of the PS button and can be customized with additional settings icons. It comes with stuff you'd expect. Notifications, game base, which is like friends parties, broadcast, accessibility, network, sound options, mic options, accessories, which is like your peripherals, and of course power options to turn this thing off. Now there are two things in here worth highlighting, one of which is a switcher option and a recent captures window pane. The former is a bit of a disappointment at the time of writing. It doesn't allow you to quick hibernate and resume multiple games. Rather, it's just this glorified quick close what I'm doing and start a game that I've played recently list. But yeah, the recent captures window, I've got to say, as a creator of videos, I just like to focus now on how versatile and handy it is. It's effectively like this mini share factory on the fly. You can quick scroll through 15 of your previously captured screens or clips and get to gussying them up right then, right there. Screenshots can be cropped and fired out to your socials in seconds, and up to 1 hour long 4K vid captures can be easily trimmed down to the bit you actually want. Then you can either save that edit as a new copy or just go over the top of the original file to save on space. It's fast, it's easy, it's an absolute godsend. And just quickly speaking of preserving precious gaming memories, side bonus. The PlayStation 5 also saves these mini trophy videos whenever you earn something. It's a nice feature.
Anyway, nice work, Miles. Holographic spider training officially complete.
That was some great training.
When it comes to performance and the powerful innards of this system, I'm just going to throw a bunch of Sony provided numbers at you and hope they stick. Both versions of the PS5 boast an AMD Zen 2 based CPU with 8 cores at 3.5 GHz, 16GB of GDDR6 memory, and a custom RDNA2 AMD GPU that provides processing power of 10.28 teraflops. In layman's terms, that's more teraflops than Freddy Krueger dance stripping online while suffering stage fright. Maybe. In more anecdotal terms, I tested a whole bunch of first-party titles and found, way more often than not, that they loaded twice as fast. For example, if you try to load 2018 Spider-Man on a PS4 Pro, it'll take the game 56 seconds to get to the title screen. The PS5 will get you there in 33. Likewise, a PS4 Pro load into New York City proper will take Spidey like 55 seconds, but if he takes the PS5 train into town, well, that's only a 13-second commute to work. Results get even crazier when you boot up the PS5 version of Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is basically the same sandbox with more impressive textures and VFX. You can go from title screen to in-game here instantaneously. And whereas Peter Parker doing a full cross-city so-called fast travel on PS4 was a 15-second affair, yeah, Miles just teleports across town without delay. That's Mega Drive cartridge load times. The future is now. Alright, let's get to the games and how good they are. We've got quite a decent lineup here, though I feel it's not as mind-blowing as PlayStation launches past. Spider-Man Miles Morales and Demon's Souls are the centerpiece draws for me, personally, but the former has a shorter than you think runtime and it releases on PS4 as well, and the latter, though it's gorgeous and a bona fide exclusive, is technically a PS3 remake and it's not captained by From Software themselves. Now, I'm not saying I would deduct points from either of those games for any of those things. I gladly clocked Spider-Man Miles Morales twice, and I'm absolutely hanging to play the latter, along with Sackboy and Godfall, which are going to arrive in a few hours, hopefully. Furthermore, I plan on foregoing sleep for about a month to finish a slew of multi-platform fare, like AC Valhalla, Dirt 5, and Call of Duty Cold War. Bottom line though, I've yet to play anything on this console that I definitively call an absolute system seller. It's also a little disappointing to me that despite all this new grunt, I still somehow have to make a choice in my games. Seems to me it's either you can have 4K 60 without fancy ray tracing and other VFX applied, or you can fandangle it up, keep your 4K, but now you're locked to 30 frames per second. I'm really hoping that changes as this new architecture becomes better understood. I guess the main takeaway here that matters most is that the PS5 has a way more than decent launch lineup of titles. It's no slouch. There are great things to play here and you're going to be playing for a long time. And honestly, fancy design and hardware borax aside, spoken from a guy who lacks a degree in hyperbolic blast processing, I think the proof in the pudding is always going to be those games. And like I said, it's too early to tell which console has the edge over the other. More graphic-minded folk are no doubt going to gravitate to the Series X. But I think in the revolutionary feel of the DualSense, PS5 has kind of flipped the script on this console war by opening an unexpected side front to the fighting. Pretty soon I think punters are going to be asking themselves a new question. Which version of this multi-platform game is going to feel the most immersive as I play it? And of course the answer to that question time and time again is going to hinge on just how lazy or inventive devs are going to be with this new tech. As a rough guide, the best game I've seen so far on PlayStation 5 is Spider-Man Miles Morales. I should have a dedicated review for it on the channel by now, hopefully, if everything goes to plan. So if you want to hear more tales of just how pretty it gets, best go check that out. As I bring this to a close, and at the end of the day, my final thoughts on the PlayStation 5 are these. Across the board, it's a step up in every way over the PlayStation 4 Pro, as you'd expect it should be. It's an expensive proposition, but the cost is outweighed by a product that has a distinctive premium look and feel, not to mention a number of worthy evolutions in the peripherals and gaming experience departments. I honestly think that this and the Series X are fairly equally worth your time and money at this point, and I doubt that fact is going to change for months or even years to come. No matter which way you look at it, I think we're living in times that require some escapism, and man, these two things are going to deliver it.